at least a
Okay.
bit.
I could give
Um,
levels. I'm
but
not taking it live, so I could definitely just give levels and talk about it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to TrendSpider Live. Today we are here with Scott Redler from T3 Live. Welcome, Scott. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be with you. I use your software every day, and I've been doing it for years. So it's nice to do, meet some of the guys that are behind the company and with the company. So it's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, love to hear that. And yeah, love to have you on our live. I'm glad you enjoy our platform. But what have you been looking out for in the markets today? Obviously, it's been a pretty bearish day overall. Definitely for semiconductors. MU, which is reporting earnings today after the bell is down, AMD is down. Seeing a bearish activity out there. So I'm just curious, what you've been watching, what you've been seeing.
Well, last Thursday or Friday is really when the tech bearish activity started. They sold Oracle on news or on the earnings. If you remember that, we can take a quick look at Oracle here.
For
You
sure.
know,
Yep.
Oracle literally had that gap down, and that was like the first kind of shot across the bow. And that was right here. Okay, that
Mm.
was after a broken bounce, it got sold down. You had a big gap here that never got filled, so that was bearish. The market tried to ignore that because if you remember, that was last Thursday. Then on Friday, AVGO Broadcom did the exact same thing,
Man.
gap
Yep.
down. Pro gap. You look at your charts here. I shade where there are gaps, and it came down. Never even attempted to fill it. That was kind of like, all right, that was a bigger shot across the bow. The market did not come back. On Fridays when I got stopped out of most of my positions because things broke the 8 and 21 day and we were losing special names. And then you come into this week and I was like, all right, getting closer to the Santa Claus rally, and some things were
Yep.
trying to hold higher. Like Tesla was trying to hold higher, Palantir was trying to hold higher, but really everything else kind of was horrible. Like, Amazon losing momentum, Google making lower lows, Meta was just a broken bounce. So you had like one or two stocks that were like kind of good, like Tesla. I came in,
Yeah,
it's pretty.
Tesla is great. Hit all-time highs. What was it yesterday? On really the same news that's been coming out. I don't know what your opinions are on Tesla.
Well,
But yeah,
it changed today, so I don't know.
yeah.
If we were talking before, you're a little young guy. Do you know what a red dog reversal is, or do you know what an RDR sell is?
I've been watching your stuff. I've been hearing you say it, but I don't know exactly what a red dog reversal is. Definitely, if you want to explain it, I am all ears though.
Well, red dog reversal is really just a rubber match spot. Like if you're going to go up for one day, that's cool. You
Mhm.
go for a second day, you have to get above and stay above the prior day high to have some momentum. If you go up 3 days in a row, you got to get up and stay above the second day in a row. So it shows you that there's momentum and you're getting continuation. So with
Yep.
Tesla today, we've been in this swing trade pretty much since like 442 ish or 422 ish when it took out the
Nice.
moving averages, and
Yep.
it's been trending nicely. And I've been on my toes because the action has been so bad that I'm like, how could Tesla just do it on its own? How could it continue to go? Who's paying up for things when everything else is kind of just drifting lower? And
Yep.
then you look at the chart of Tesla today. So this is what happened. You had the 488 pivot from last year. So
Mhm.
yesterday's high was 491.50. So what happened was people, even like me, I'm like, I hope it gets to 500. People like, Red Dog, is it going to get to 500 today? I'm like, I'll be honest, I don't know if it's going to get to 500. It's got to get above and stay above 491.50. Otherwise, if you have a momentum tier to get to 500, to get out of the way. So it got above it, couldn't hold it. And then for 41.50 was a decent spot. I'm like, if it's going to be really awesome and momentum stuck and get to 500 sooner than later, then it holds 481.70, which was the prior high. Then it didn't hold that. So that kind of got me out of a lot of my sizes. I'm like, now, most things are broken. You kind of have to wait and see. At this point, you had a pretty bearish engulfing candle,
Yeah.
where it got above a prior high, couldn't hold it. It's still just back to where the 3 day move was. It's still above the 8 day, which is still considered very bullish. But the way the market is, I'm just a little skeptical that it's going to get back to this 495 anytime fast. So we'll have to see, like we'll see what kind of bounce it has. If it's feeble and when you get some kind of like H cell setup where it bounces and doesn't take back the retracement rule of like 50% or even a
Yep.
third, then chances are, this is going to lose its special status and join the ranks of all the other names that have been just starting to really kind of just break down and be bent. So there's like bent names and broken names. This name just went back to, hey, can't do it by itself. And now it's a question of how does it hold? Does it break down further? Is it going to need days, weeks, or months. I don't know. Holding here is pretty constructive. Like if you get a decent bounce tomorrow and the thing's holding
Yeah.
there, hey, there's a chance come Christmas. I have the 1226 calls on. It could rebuild. But if it doesn't really bounce and it starts breaking this and heads lower, you just have to say, hey, you know what, it couldn't do it by itself, and you have to give it a little bit more space and make sure you reduce your size.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So you still have some calls on that one though?
Yeah, I got stopped out of my shares. I've had shares on since about 424. I had the
Nice.
TSL also, and I was in there. Even last night, I got a few phone calls last night. Oh, did you see Tesla's down $12? They're going to lose California selling ability. And I was like, oh, that's I just broke out today. But then, you woke up this morning, was up 2 or 3 points. And right away, I started selling a little bit because I was a little worried. I'm like, I have too much. It's the only name up here. So when I get a little bit weary, I sell a little bit, and then as the day unfolded, I just kind of reduce. So this way, I'm a little bit more flexible, as that's been the way to go lately with names. I remember if you look at Apple, very similar Red Dog reversal. This was by itself, doing no evil. We had a big rally here. We played a breakout from 280, went to 288, same kind of Red Dog reversal, got above a prior high, couldn't hold it, and then it's been trending down since.
Yeah.
And it's still, every rally has been sold. So once these things change, they kind of change. Look at Google, how Google changed. Google, hit its highs. It's been just like rolling down and then broke yesterday's low. Now it's below the 8 and 21 day. And, this too has lost special status. So I like to be in swing trades that have special status above the 8 and 21 day. When they give me a sell signal, I reduce. And then I watch the action closely to see if I have to stay away and just kind of approach it tactically via the range, or just stay away, because sometimes, you could lose money testing things at certain spots.
Yeah, and absolutely. So that's interesting. You're using the 8 and 21 day as your main area, as what, a trailing stop, and then also what, are you using a crossover as a time to get into these plays usually, or?
Usually on the way up, yeah, that means like it's starting to get momentum. Listen, we're active traders. I could push my buttons real fast. When something's above the 8 day, like it was here, right around the 286 and broke above a high, which was great, 293. You had a momentum move to 328. Then it came back to test the 8 day. But once it starts getting below the 8 day, that's telling me that momentum traders aren't in a rush to buy it. So if they're not in a rush, I'm not in a rush. I'm not a hedge fund. I'm not a mutual fund. I trade things that are in the moving business. I like to buy versus levels, trade for breakouts. If it's not happening, I don't need it to stay on, on my real estate, on my screen. So when it breaks the 8 day, you could always revisit it at the 21, the 50, the 100, or 200 day. Yeah. But if it breaks the 8 day and you're active, there's no reason to hold your nose and go underwater with it.
No, absolutely. I totally agree. I kind of trade similar. I'm usually following the trends, momentum, and Google actually looks like they're about to have a bearish 821 cross right there. It looks like, I think, if that's the 821 as well. So
yeah, there's nothing now really until this prior breakout right here. And then at some point, maybe the 50 day comes up. So that could be a spot to test it. But ultimately, it's been a grinder. Yeah, and now, like you say, Mike, you want to look at Micron.
Yeah,
The one thing I will say about Micron is at least it's not priced for perfection. It just came in from 264 down to the 50 day. The 50 day here is 221.69, right? That's what this is. It's lower is 221.69. So it's not priced for perfection. So it doesn't have to like beat, guide up, and go nuts, but it's still come a long way, from where it was.
That's been great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm not going to take it. I have no. It's not part of my real go-to list. I've traded NVIDIA a lot, and NVIDIA to me just broke down again. NVIDIA strength has been sold. If NVIDIA couldn't go up when it had its earnings and broke this 191, which was a sell signal for the market, why is MU, no matter what they do, why are people going to be in a rush to buy MU on 17 going in? So I'm not taking any options. I'm kind of just, taking a step back, and I'll watch the action, because if it's good and it's up, maybe we get a bounce attempt like we had today. But if it's not good, it could easily see this 100-day pretty fast. And then that'll be maybe a level to see how it reacts tomorrow morning, to see whether or not, weakness gets absorbed, because strength has not been bought.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was in MU all the way up until that kind of dump back in late November. I hit my trail stop out. I don't know if it looks like it broke like the EMAs too, somewhere around up there. Right. So I agree. And ever since, I mean, it looks okay. We'll see how earnings set up today. It is testing, and it could be trying to put in some lower highs, but as of right now, not really much of a play for me either. I don't know if he's relative performance at all, but the relative
You do.
performance of MU is still at 98. So it is still outperforming, 98% of the S&P 500, which is good to see going into earnings. But a lot of these names are as well. Like I think even Nvidia might be. Nvidia's at 82. So Nvidia has been losing steam compared to some of these other names. If you want, to actually show you something real quick on TrendSpider that I've been doing. Basically, I'll just go to our market scanner here and just see like find stocks in the SMH ETF that have a RP greater than 90. And this is basically going to find all the top semiconductor names that have a relative performance over 90. Just something to like to see what's winning in the semiconductor race right now. And we have all these names. Surprisingly, AVGO is still in there. Got a relative performance of 92, even though it's came down quite a bit. You got AMD. The one thing about here that I noticed is NVIDIA is not in there, but we got MU in there. Even Intel. Intel's been pretty good ever since, that the government took a stake in it, of course.
Yeah, we had some good trades in Intel. Wait, so you're using the Sidekick for that, right?
No, this is a little bit different. It's similar to Sidekick, but you just open the market scanner and now you can just use this AI little chat feature right here to build out a scan for you. So it doesn't use any actual, it doesn't cost anything. Anyone on TrendSpider can use this.
That's awesome.
Really nice.
I'm going to do, are you going to, I'm doing, I do the 630 Club, which is a free video for like 20 minutes every morning. A lot of people are asking me like, hey, you use TrendSpider and, you use a very simple version because I'm an old dog. I'm 53 years old. So I need to get some new training to have some of the analytics work for me. So I think next week I'm going to be bringing in either you or another guy to come on in the morning when I go over the indices and I go over my watch list of what I'm doing, and maybe you could overlay some of the things that TrendSpider could, cut out the fat and get you a little closer with a little less work, because your technology is fantastic, and I probably should be using it more versus just my eyesight, my memory, and what I've been doing for about 23 years or more.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's a common thing that people say. It's like, there's so many features on TrendSpider that even I've been working here for almost a year now. I feel like sometimes I'm still even learning new stuff, which is it's a great thing overall. But yeah, absolutely down to help.
Well, what chart do you have up there right now?
If you have any questions on stuff, this is MU on the 1 minute. Just
right, the 1 minute. Okay. So it looks like it's about.
I usually just like to put up the 1 minute just so.
I have that too. I have the TrendSpider, then I have it with some of my other stuff. So if I go like MU, and I get to I could come over here. If you go back to my screen for a second, you could toggle on names and put a few of them up and see different time frames too. So what I tend to do is I tend to put some of the charts up together with you have the 2 minute, and then you go intraday. And and then I could press MU, and then I could press Tesla, and then I overlay with with this looks like it's about to go back to the lows here, and then I look at levels on on your TrendSpider and your daily.
Yeah. You can also use multiple charts on TrendSpider too.
Okay, how would you do that? So walk me through. So right now I have the daily chart on TrendSpider.
Let me show you real quick. I'll show you real quick. There's a couple different ways to do it.
You're kind of going in and out right now. Are we frozen?
Tab. I'll stay over here while I do that. You can also click over here. Oh, whoop. There we go. That was weird. But yeah.
I'm going to take a few things off because I think my computer's running too many things. So we could, be a little bit more streamlined.
All this stuff, my broker, TrendSpider, multiple, because I have, the team account, TrendSpider, multiple instances up. So yeah, I can
all right, well I just
can get laggy sometimes, but yeah, basically right over here you can have multi-charts, and then over here as well you can add so many charts on here, literally 48. I think it's 8x6 or no 14, whatever. Customize them all to however you want. Let me see. I don't want to miss I like to show off the earnings move.
All right, so put it up.
People love to see them. I'm sure if you guys are out there in the chat, let us know if you're playing MU earnings.
I'm not
Let's hope to
playing. You could.
see.
So what you do is put up 221 as support. If it misses, you have 192. So that would be a level below. If they want to hit it fast and you think that, it might hold support. And then if it, it beats and goes higher, you
Let's
have
see.
then 264 above.
Sounds good. I got the 221 level right there. Let's go to like the 5-minute and get a little bit.
I think you should go to the daily chart real quick, just on it, so you could map it out. So you do it on yours, so you could see 264. If it's blockbuster and they got up, which I don't think they're going to do, that's the prior high. You have today's low of 221.69, and if it's in line and misses, then you have the 100-day down on 192. That's how I would frame it if you're trading it after hours.
Yeah, he's looking at the 100-day SMA.
Yeah, it's probably right where the bottom of that green tail is from November 21st, 192.
Too. No, I think I can right. But yeah, there's the 100-day right there.
Oh, MU's out.
Let's see. We got the earnings coming out. Should be.
It's up 5, just 237, 237. It's trading first spot really is it's above today's 237 was one spot. It's above today's high. It's above the moving averages. See if it holds 237 first. If I was trading it after hours right now, that's what I would be doing, making sure it holds today's high, and then there's room.
Yeah. Wow. Getting a nice pop right there. Sorry, guys, my internet must be.
But so this is the way I would be looking at it on my screen.
Yeah,
like
we're up about what, 6%?
Yeah, it's still got to wait though. A lot of these things are up. Oracle is up, Avago is up, and then all of a sudden they started to fade, and then they went on the conference call and spoke about other things. So don't get sucked in too fast. But ultimately, again, like if you're looking at my screen, you'll see like I have a level 2 up, so I could see the inside market. It's now above today's high, which is one step. Okay, so you go back to it, and then now you watch the 2-minute bar. Now you're still hovering here. So it's going to have to develop a little range if you're trading after hours. So does it hold this 230? What was this high here today? This high here today, I would say, is 237.41. So I put in, 237.41 in order for it to continue to have any kind of momentum after hours. That's what it's got to hold. So you put that in here too. So that's kind of step 1. And it's still hanging in there. Then you could probably even make another little line here and say, okay, now the next spot really is these 2 lows and a high, and the high here is 250.11. So 250.11 would be the next area of interest that perhaps it stalls out or gets to, which is right here. So again, framing it as it transpires. So you go back to MU. So can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me now? I think
I
internet
got you.
might be a little bit better. Okay, cool. Sorry.
So that's kind of, I'm just saying that's how you could see you could see the 2-minute, and then you could see the inside market, the level 2, which is my old school, eyes that look at things. And then you have them mapped out. It's above 237. Continue to hold it for a little while, show some commitment, shorts get squeezed, and maybe you get to this 250 spot. And then that's the highest.
No, that looks good. I like your setup. Also, another thing that you can do on TrendSpider, if you click the little clock icon out there, you can actually see the after hours movement on the daily if you wanted to. I don't know if that's
where's the clock?
At the top,
right
there. Right there. Yep.
Okay.
So that shows after hours movement. It goes all, you can do that all the way up to the daily chart, but the weekly and monthly, you can't see after hours data. But daily and below, yeah, you can click that and see that the post market moves.
That's cool. That helps, because then you could see like exactly where it's coming to resistance on the daily. Right now, it hit the 8-day and the 21-day, and it's getting a little rejected right now. So it's already come down a little bit. So it gives you a roadmap on where it can get to the easy move, and then where maybe you need to be careful. And this spot was definitely a be careful spot. Now it's starting to fade. So then maybe you want to write in, what is the prior day's low if it continues to fade? This is here, and then this is it's not as relevant, but 230.59. I like to use daily highs and lows as points of references, because I think they mean a lot more than some other points of references. So you put that right here.
Yeah.
Now it's
nice. Yeah, and that post hours move, kind of crazy. Had kind of a crazy wick down, right? I think that's the 50-day SMA on your chart there.
Yep.
Kind of, I don't even know it's consider that a real wick or not, probably, but.
Well, it's you won't catch that wick till tomorrow, because if you go back and you just have the daily chart, it'll show where it closed.
Yep.
But now it's like kind of showing if it's a 23-hour trader like the Nasdaq might be, right? Everyone's saying we might
Right.
go. Oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
wonder what
Yeah.
that's
And
going to
real
feel like.
quick, I'm looking at the numbers right now. It looks like Micron EPS beats, sales beat. So we got a double beat. Pretty nice on both numbers here. We got 478 on the EPS beat and 395. Sales at 13.64 billion, beating 12.8 billion. So pretty nice numbers here. And then looks like for forward guidance, wow, they're seeing like 18 to 19 billion versus 14 billion estimate. That is insanely good forward guidance.
That is good guidance.
Yeah.
Listen up
Yeah.
for margins.
Yeah, that looks great. So, and very nice report here on MU. Looks like it could put in, maybe it'll hold that 50-day SMA tomorrow. We'll see. I don't know if we're going to get a gap. Yeah, we're definitely going to get a gap tomorrow, most likely on the daily chart, which will be interesting to see. But great numbers all around. Hopefully, if you guys are out there in the chat trading MU, you guys are making some money.
Yeah,
Love
I'm
to
kind
see
of like,
that.
I'm wearing a lot of little hats right now. Now it stayed above 237 for a good, what is it, about 5 minutes. So that shows some commitment. And now the next spot really is really 250-ish. The
Yeah.
numbers are pretty solid. Hard to poke holes in
Yeah,
those
right.
numbers, even, and it pulled back from if it was at 264, it'd be a lot harder. But from 264 down to the 50-day, it should be rewarded for those type of numbers, you would think.
Absolutely. But you never know. I mean, NVIDIA had pretty insane numbers too. Maybe not this good, but
Right.
even them, after their earnings, they, like you said earlier, they failed to hold. So,
Failed to hold. I like a young guy saying that.
yeah.
Get above and stay above, get below and stay below. Commitment to moves. That's how you adjust your size.
Yep. Yep.
There you go. All right, listen. I hate to do this, and I'm going to jump on a lot more with you. I have so much I got to do. I had events today. I have another webinar at 4:30. I got to do my recap. Definitely looking to do more things with you guys and TrendSpider and jump on more live calls, and then also have some of you guys in the 6:30 club. I know I spoke to a bunch of my my community on the alpha team to come on and test out TrendSpider because they're all like, Red Dog, all you do is do all your charts on TrendSpider. If you love it, we should love it. I'm like, well, why don't you get a trial and check it out? So, I think some of them are going to give that a shot. And then if you want, I'm doing an open house next week, Monday through Wednesday. Monday through Wednesday, you can go on the alpha team and watch what I'm doing, see my positions. I'm on the radio from 9:15 to like 11:30. I do a lot of my stuff in there. So I think there's a lot of synergies between TrendSpider, and T3, where, your platform and your active approach and me being the quarterback, in a lot of scenarios, could help a nice audience.
No, I agree. Would love to keep doing more collaborations with you. I know you're planning on coming on another live already in about a month or two. So we'll definitely see it for that. And we'll definitely be in contact. Definitely want to do
Yeah.
more content with you guys. It was great having you on, even though it was a short time. Thank you for coming on. No worries about you leaving early at all. Appreciate your input today.
Yeah,
But
look,
yeah,
you're
man,
still going. I held that,
yeah,
commit. It's held in above this 237. Now you're at 241. Still working through, eating through the level 2, eating through, the supply there.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
looking great. We'll see how the earnings call goes here probably in
Yeah.
about an hour or so.
Yeah, so it's got time till then. I would say if you're trading it after hours, put your stop in like 235, and if you want to give it more room, but it shouldn't get down there. Like if this is going to be any good, it shouldn't get back below 232 or 235, and then really it's already above this. Now it's above 239, which is this is 239.40. So that's the next spot, it's got some room. It's got some room. Congratulations if you're trading it.
Yeah, no, it's looking great. Looking great. And by the way, if you guys want to learn more about Scott and T3, his links are down below in the description on YouTube. So make sure to check him out. And we'll definitely have him on more shows in the future. And we'll probably be on T3 Live as well. So,
Yeah. All right. We'll talk. I got to jump.
all right. Sounds good. Have a good
All right.
rest of your day, Scott. Great
I
meeting you.
appreciate you. Bye-bye.
See you later. Stick myself back up on the screen here. Yeah, that was cool. It was great seeing Redler on. It was his first time on TrendSpider Live. And of course, my But yeah, let's see. Actually, while Scott was talking, if you guys can even hear me, my internet, I don't know what is going on with it today. I'm just going to keep talking though. But this is my sidekick prompt that I put in before the MU earnings were dropped. Just analyze some MU earnings report today. Scheduled after the bell. Again, this was pre-earnings. And let's see what it says. So sidekick, verdict was wait for post-earnings dip. So that wasn't right. But that's all right. Let's see. This is what its reasoning was. While fundamentals are strong and analysts are euphoric, the setup is dangerous. Last quarter's revenue miss, despite EPS beat, caused a 16% drop, which is fair. Very, very fair. SJD News, I know. I guess I'm lagging today. I apologize for that, guys. If I'm still lagging, you guys let me know down in the chat below. Either way, I'm sure everyone here is at least happy to see MU popping up here on earnings at the very least. But now that the numbers are out, I want to go ahead and do a earnings prompt that is going to summarize exactly what happened in the earnings. We did cover it again. Very bullish, very, very bullish, but I'm going to send in a sidekick prompt to see what you might have missed. So I'm going to send this prompt in, and while we do that, we can just minimize it down there to the right. Again, I'll pull up the relative performance here, 98.8. That means it's outperforming 98% of the S&P 500, which is great. And cool thing about this relative performance tool as well, you guys, is that you can actually customize the benchmark. So right now, it's outperforming 98% of the S&P 500, right? But if I were to go switch it to, you can use like the same sector, the same market cap, or the same sector and market cap, which is very cool. Right now, I'm going to do same sector. It should use, of course, something like SMH or just, semiconductors that actually put it in tech. Look at that. It's a little bit lower. It's outperforming 94% of tech, but it's a very cool tool. I think that's something kind of unique about the TrendSpider relative performance tool is that you can easily, compare a stock to any other sector. You can even do same market cap. Again, this one's actually under the mega caps, which is interesting, outperforming 98% of them. So either way, it's, RP is over 90. That's kind of the threshold that a lot of people use. But yeah, ever since, about September, back when this breakout happened, we actually did let me put on my Mark Minervini trend templates. This is actually right when this breakout happened, is when it met all the conditions of Mark Minervini's trend template criteria, which is all this stuff right here. Actually, it's RP over 70 for this trend template. It's above all these SMAs, and all the SMAs are crossed over each other, which is very cool. And once it's actually meeting all the trend template criteria, it paints the candles cyan. And so, right, it was almost like a perfect move on this. It was mostly like a volatility contraction pattern like here too as well. It had a first low here, put in a higher low, then another higher low, and the candles flipped to cyan right there. Let me go to the S&P 500. I believe that's what it uses. Yeah. So the RP, again, relative performance above 70. And ever since then, has been an absolutely amazing play. It did bounce off the SMA 50 right here, and it's doing it again right now. Put on after hours data. Second bounce off the 50-day SMA happened today as well. So if you're using that as a trailing stop, you would maybe have gone stopped out there. I personally got stopped out here. Kind of sucks in hindsight, but at the same time, it's whatever. It was a great trade all the way up till then. So that's what's going on with Micron. Not sure. Let me open my market scanner. I don't think there's anything else reporting earnings today of note. If you guys are out there in the chat, you're watching anything else that you want me to cover, let me know in the chat below. And also, if you guys are still around, make sure to like and subscribe. Someone said, not so nice when you realize it's at where it was pre-market today. Let's take a look at the pre-market session then. I'm assuming you're talking about MU. Yeah, MU pre-market. Literally exactly what, who was that? Jack Sparrow said, trading at the same level, that 240 level. we're saying that earlier in the chat too, as well, is that 240 level is going to be very important. And look at where we are reacting right now. I'm going to put on my Mentor Q gamma levels indicator as well and see what's going on here. Let me see what this is set up for. I think it should be, yeah, it's intraday, so it's updating intraday. And let's see if there's any key levels. So the call resistance and the call resistance 0DTE levels are trading up. They're around 250, actually, around 248 to 250. We got the HVL levels right here at, I was actually reacted to this morning, around 238. So I think if we hold above this, it could potentially propel us up to this one-day max, call resistance up there maybe tomorrow. Maybe we'll get some more movement today. Who knows? But we did tag the one-day minimum as well today, down about 221. Would be very nice to tag that one-day max as well. Thank you for letting me know the stream is good. Glad it is better. Glad it is better. But let's see. What else are you guys watching out there in the chat down below? If you guys haven't already, take advantage of TrendSpider's sale. You can get a trial for just $19. There is a link down below to try it out. I'll drop one in the chat as well right now too. Yeah, honestly, beautiful, beautiful earnings move on such a red day. Like, this is honestly a breath of fresh air. Let me check out how the rest of the market is doing. Let's check out, for one, let's check out QQQ. So QQQ in post market, you know, it's up a little bit, but it's still overall pretty red on day. Let's check out SMH. Yeah, SMH did have a nice little pop thanks to probably Micron earnings saving everything. Yeah, we just put in the chat, Micron saving the AI stocks. That is pretty much what's hopefully going to happen. If you guys are all bullish out there, any Michael Burry's out there, you got puts on Micron or Palantir or NVIDIA? Curious to know. Let me know down below. A lot of Tesla talk. Obviously, it hit all-time highs yesterday and today. And yeah, Scott was talking about it earlier. You know, it really probably needs to bounce about right around this level. So I think tomorrow will be a pretty important day for Tesla there. But what I was going to do earlier as well, what was I going to do? I was going to do something in the market scanner. I'm going to do my same thing, find stocks with, I'll just do RP greater than 95. And I'm going to do 100-day rate of change greater than 30. That's another momentum filter that I personally like to use. Let me put up MU while we wait. And also, let me pull up Sidekick while that loads. Oh, that's weird. It's because I sent this prompt in before the report updated. Let's try this. Let's see. Right now, this in the S&P 100, these are the top stocks on a relative performance basis. We got Intel. Saw this earlier. It is obviously Semiconductor name. Still coming down today, though. And we got Google and then GM. GM is very interesting. But all these names are starting to kind of come down, except for, honestly, GM. GM is looking incredible right now. Let me check a look at Ford as well. Definitely looking a little bit better than Ford. But yeah, ever since GM's last earnings on its power earnings gap right here, if you guys are a power earnings gap trader and it did trade this GM play, that, you know, you've been doing pretty good since. It has not even tested the gap. Really, if you got in almost anywhere here, you'd probably still be in a solid move. Speaking of that, we do have a recent power gap scan that you guys can use as well to find stuff like that. Called, of course, the recent power gap. We'll scan for it on the NYSE. Let's see what other gaps we have. We got Lulu. If you guys remember, let's go. That's funny. I love seeing the drawings on here sometimes. But Lulu, they report earnings, had a power earnings gap not that long ago. Just found it easily using this scanner right here. Yeah, someone literally just told me like a Lulu. That's pretty funny. I think it honestly looks pretty solid, you guys. Not going to lie to you. Bouncing off this previous pivot level right here, just reported solid earnings. And if you guys didn't know, if we pull up the stock market map, let's just look at XRT. XRT actually has been doing pretty good lately. Stocks like KSS Coles, absolutely another huge earnings power gap. So yeah, honestly, Lulu is looking solid. And I think I hid my relative performance. The RP still pretty low, sitting down there at 20, which isn't great. Definitely not great, but maybe the momentum will come in sooner than later. Again, it's trading kind of, it actually has two gaps in like the same area right here, guys. That's pretty interesting, from like basically like 200 down to what, like 188 or so, is definitely somewhere it's going to need to hold. So if you use like our position tool, position, no, let's just say you get in wherever it is right now. You can gauge your risk to reward depending on where you want to set your stop. Whether you want to set it in the gap itself, that's only a 5% stop loss. And then I don't know where you want to set your take profit, but even if you just set it like right there, that's a 3.5 risk to reward. If you want to, hold it for really long, we got an anchored VWAP right there. That's a 32% gain. That's risk to reward of 5.74, just depending how you guys want to go ahead and play it. Not bad. You do see there is some sort of resistance right there as well around the 208 level, depending if you want to wait for it to break out of there. But overall, solid. Someone's asking about Oracle and AVGO. Yeah, those have been absolutely brutal. AVGO, I think I got stopped out a couple days ago. Not fun. But yeah, I was live for their earnings call. The stock actually released great earnings from what I remember, but then when the CEO came on, is that Hawk Tan? It was just started tanking. Let me pull up the 15-minute for you guys. Where's the earnings? Yeah, you can see it right here. You can go check out the AVGO earnings live stream and the earnings call on the TrendSpider live YouTube. Great at first, the numbers drop at 5%, dropped 8.6% since the top. At this point, it's been down how much off the top? Let's take a look. Let's put on regular data here. Down 22% off the top. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We can draw. There's obviously a pretty clear pivot level right there. I mean, it's pretty obviously right there. Multiple reactions and also kind of a breakout level right below it at like 318. So I'd say like 320 is kind of your line in the sand right here on Broadcom, AVGO. So that is how AVGO is looking. Let's take a look at Oracle. Man, this one has been absolutely brutal. Probably even worse than AVGO. Wow, down another 48%, you guys, from the top. And again, last earnings, they did amazing. God, that was such a crazy gap. 43%. I didn't realize there was a 43% move. That is absolutely insane for a company the size of Oracle, is it not? And then from the top, or then this last earnings, they came down, 10%? It's been down since. And again, all the gains and then some given back, down 48% off the top in 3 months. Absolute roller coaster there on ORCL. So, I mean, I don't think there's a trade for me in Oracle right now. Personally, it's not the way I trade. If you're someone who believes in the company long term and wants to, DCA, invest in it, probably maybe a good idea. They do have that OpenAI Sam Altman risk. I think that's the main reason why it's been coming down. And then people are backing out of funding them, is something that I saw earlier when I was using Sidekick AI. Let's take a look. Let me see if I have that chat still down. Might have been on my other account. Let's take a look at what Sidekick has to say about MU earnings again right here. Blowout beat and monster guidance. We all saw that. I hope this does save some AI jitters, but with like Oracle and AVGO, we'll take a look at how those charts are looking in after hours today. Maybe it will help stop the jitters, I think, at least a little bit, but we'll see. We will see. Tomorrow's open will be a lot more telling than what it's doing right now. Obviously, looks good for now, but Q1 results, obviously 25% beat on EPS and a 6% beat on revenue. I think the revenue is actually higher than that. I think that's because the official numbers aren't exactly in yet. Let me pull up MU again. We're getting some more articles from just 4 minutes ago right here too. Micron stock surges after strong Q1 results, of course. Let's pull up like the 5-minute chart and see what this stock is doing. It's still hanging in there to the upside. Let's see. Is looking for Q2 GAAP EPS of $7.99 to $8.39 versus 4.88. So absolutely amazing forward guidance here. Yeah, so EPS versus revenue, it's 478 versus 382. We saw that. Let's see. Analyst sentiment, 5 upgrades in 5 days from Citi, Stifel, Wedbush, Rosenblatt, Needham, all to 300 price target, which is interesting. We'll take a look at what's happening now to see more of that. But Psychic, man, it's saying take profits or wait. Blowout numbers, but intraday sell-off signals exhaustion. I think it's because it's not reading the after-hours data. It is still new. Wait for confirmation above 242. That's probably a good call. It says wait for confirmation above 242 for confirmation. Not the worst idea there. I'm going to delete this for now. How much are we up in after hours? We're up about 5%. Let me see if I can find the investor relations page. Who's out there who wants to listen to the Micron's earnings call? If there's at least one of you guys out there, I'll go ahead and play it for us. And if you guys are just joining in for Micron earnings, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you guys for joining. Right now, we just pretty much finished going over Micron earnings. They were amazing. Double beat, forward guidance raised. And right now I'm looking into the earnings call to see if we can go ahead and play it for you guys, but it probably won't be at least till like 30 minutes or something. Let's see. December 17th at 4:30 Eastern. This is interesting. Looks like they have 2 calls today. They got one at 6 p.m. Eastern, which is, what is that? My time. That's 3. So we won't be seeing that, but 4:30. That's like now in 3 minutes. Let me pull up this webcast. Yep, I got the call loading up right now. We got a few minutes, so if you guys are out there, got any questions about the platform, got any questions about the earnings today, let me know now because I'll probably start streaming the call sooner than later. We can take a look at some other stuff here, like seasonality on MU, for example. Looks like last month, November, is great for them. December is pretty and then we got January and February is the next biggest periods. If MU starts dropping, you have to cut the call. What you talking about? It is starting to drop, though. Yeah, that's fine. We'll see what happens during the call. You know, it's probably hopefully a good thing that it's dying now before the call starts. Maybe it'll start pumping back up when the call actually does go ahead and start there. We'll see. We got a few minutes. Shout out to more power gaps. We had Dollar General with the recent power earnings app, and it's been actually killing it since. So much stuff to cover here. Let me pull up the stock market map. This is my favorite way to use the stock market map here. Minimize that. I basically have a list of sector ETFs that I go ahead and load in here. And you can see there's a week-to-date change here and then change percent since close, which is basically for the day from top to bottom. So essentially stuff on the top right is going to be the highest changer over what you got. I mean, there's just a textbook breakout play right here, you guys. Absolutely insane, to be honest. You could have played, it's basically a line in the sand there. Got the couple high volume candles here. This is like the real breakout of the pivot levels there. You know, if you got in, you really have not been tested whatsoever. So, you know, classic move there on silver. Pull up gold as well. Gold has already outperformed silver quite a bit, but it's looking almost like it wants to break out again. But they had a similar breakout back over here. Sounds like the yeah, I'll let him know. Oh, I got to remove myself real quick so I can get the audio up.
Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, and welcome to Micron Technology's fiscal first 2020. Rotra, our Chairman, President, and CEO, and Mark Murphy, our CFO. Today's call is being webcast from our investor relations site at investors.micron.com, including audio and slides. In addition, a press release detailing our quarterly results has been posted on the website, along with the prepared remarks for this call. Today's discussion contains forward-looking statements that are subject to risks and uncertainties. These forward-looking statements include statements regarding our future financial and operating performance,
please.
as well as trends and expectations in our
This is
business,
the MU earnings call.
contractual terms. These statements are based on our current assumptions, and we assume no obligation to update these statements. Please refer to our most recent financial reports on Forms 10-K, Forms 10-Q, and our other filings with the SEC for more information on the risks and uncertainties that could cause actual results to differ materially from expectations. Today's discussion of financial results is presented on a non-GAAP financial basis unless otherwise specified. A reconciliation of GAAP to non-GAAP financial measures can be found on our website.
An outstanding start to fiscal 2026, delivering fiscal Q1 and EPS well above the high end of our guidance. This financial performance was driven by our strong execution across end markets and products in a tight supply environment. We achieved fiscal Q1 company revenue, as well as HBM and data center revenue, and revenue in each of our business units also reached new records. We have completed agreements on price and volume for our entire calendar 2026 HBM supply, including Micron's industry-leading HBM4. We forecast an HBM TAM approximately 40% through calendar 2028, from approximately $35 billion in 2025 to around $100 billion in 2028. This $100 billion HBM TAM milestone is now projected to arrive 2 years earlier than in our prior outlook. Remarkably, this 2028 HBM TAM projection is larger than the size of the entire DRAM market in calendar 2024. We are excited about our customized HBM4E customer engagements, which offer further differentiation opportunities to us, and we continue to make excellent progress on our HBM roadmap. Memory is now essential to AI's cognitive functions, fundamentally altering its role from a system component to a strategic asset that dictates product performance from data center to the edge. This structural shift means that system capabilities heavily rely on advanced memory for real-time contextual processing, which is vital for achieving autonomous and intelligent behaviors in AI data centers, as well as in applications ranging from self-driving cars to advanced medical diagnostics. With our technology leadership, differentiated product portfolio, strong operational execution, and solid balance sheet, Micron is in the best competitive position in its history and is one of the semiconductor industry's biggest enablers of AI. We anticipate substantial new records in revenue, gross margin, EPS, and free cash flow for both the second quarter and the full fiscal year 2026, and we expect our business performance to continue to strengthen through the year. Sustained and strong industry demand, along with supply constraints, are contributing to tight market conditions, and we expect these conditions to persist beyond calendar 2026. We are making progress with customers in our discussions for multi-year contracts with specific commitments. Simultaneously, we are focused on maximizing our production output from our current footprint, ramping our industry-leading technology nodes, and investing in new cleanroom space to add to our supply capability. Micron's technology leadership is foundational to our strong competitive position. Micron has led the industry for 4 consecutive technology nodes in DRAM and 3 nodes in NAND, with progressively faster yield ramps in every node. Our 1-gamma DRAM node is ramping well. 1-gamma will be the primary driver of our DRAM bit growth in calendar 2026 and will be the majority of our bit output in the second half of the calendar year. Looking beyond 1-gamma, development is underway for 1-delta and 1-epsilon nodes, which will feature innovations that we expect to extend our differentiation and technology leadership. In NAND, we are ramping our D9 node with robust yield ramps across both data center and client SSDs.
Should we cut
our
this
QLC
call?
NAND mix, including G9 QLC, reached a record high during the quarter. Technology transitions to G9 will be the primary driver of our NAND bit growth in calendar 2026, and we expect it to become our largest NAND node later in fiscal 2026. I'm pleased to report that calendar 2025 is a record year for Micron in terms of both internal and customer quality measures, positioning us well to deliver for our customers as the memory industry's quality leader. As our products are increasingly integrated into higher value applications, our leadership in quality is becoming a more important differentiator. Turning to our end markets. As the world's leading technology companies advance toward artificial general intelligence and transform the global economy, our customers are committing to an extraordinary multi-year data center build-out. This growth in AI data center capacity is driving a significant increase in demand for high performance and high capacity memory and storage. Server unit demand has strengthened significantly, and we now expect calendar 2025 server unit growth in the high teens % range, higher than our last earnings call outlook of 10%. We expect server demand strength to continue in 2026. Server memory and storage content and performance requirements continue to increase generation to generation. Micron has a differentiated portfolio of high-value data center solutions to address these requirements, including our HBM, high-capacity server memory solutions, and data center SSDs. Micron's HBM4, with industry-leading speed over 11 gigabits per second, is on track to ramp with high yields in the second calendar quarter of 2026, consistent with our customers' product ramp plans. Our HBM4 uses advanced CMOS and advanced metallization process technologies on the base logic die and DRAM core dies, which are designed and manufactured in-house. This, along with our unique HBM design, packaging, and test capability, enables Micron's industry-leading performance and low-power leadership. Micron pioneered the adoption of LP DRAM in the data center. Micron's low-power DRAM server modules consume 1/3 the power of DDR DRAM server modules. Building on this leadership, we have sampled our 192 gigabyte LP SOCAMM2 product, which enables a 50% increase in capacity per module and a rack scale LP DRAM density of over 50 terabytes. Our data center NAND portfolio revenue exceeded $1 billion in fiscal Q1, and we are seeing strong momentum across our data center SSD portfolio, enabled by our leadership NAND technology. In the performance SSD category, Micron has introduced the world's first PCIe Gen 6 SSD, leveraging our G9 NAND. We are seeing rapidly increasing qualification commitments for this product, including at hyperscalers. In mainstream storage, our SSDs based on G9 NAND are already seeing robust demand in the first quarter of calendar 2026. In capacity storage, our QLC-based 122 and 245 terabytes G9 SSDs are entering qualification at multiple hyperscale customers. PC demand continues to be driven by Windows 10 end of life and AI PCs.
Pause this real quick for a sec, you guys. Hello, everyone out there. But I just want to go over some of the main things that are being said right here on this earnings call. We have them right here on the news widget on TrendSpider. For one, Micron executive says total company revenue, DRAM, and NAND revenue basically all reached a new record. A lot of good things being said on the call. Also says Micron has completed agreements on price and volume for the entire calendar of 2026 for HBM supply. Micron Technology executive says we forecast CAGR of 40% through calendar year 2028 from $35 billion in 2025 to $100 billion in 2028. So very, very nice forward guidance right here. And for everyone saying that, you know, it's manipulated, stuff like that, you got to look at the chart, you guys. You got to trade the levels that are on your screen. If I hide this indicator real quick, we can just look at the daily chart of this name. As you can see, this is the current daily candle right here. And you can see right around here, there was, you know, this 223 level. It can start just drawing some key levels. We already had one drawn right up there at basically the all-time high breakout. There on December 10th, it broke out to, I believe that's all-time highs, and then really pulled back since. You see the weekly kind of choppy for the last couple of weeks, but overall decent movement until it broke out the all-time high and then recently came down lower there. So, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Sidekick. I'm going to say plot the key levels and technical signals on my current chart. You could draw as well, of course, but I'm actually curious to see what Sidekick goes. Wick right here is 223 wick. Why my thing keeps lagging today. But right now we have Sidekick reviewing my chart. Here we go. This is what Sidekick has to say about MU. Look at that. It's actually saying the same exact thing that I was saying. Failed breakout right here, of course. And then the sharp rejection. It's saying this is a support breakdown. And then 220 right here is going to be a strong support zone. And then 192 is actually marking as previous resistance. So if you guys don't feel like drawing the levels on your chart manually, you can use Sidekick to do so. It actually does a pretty damn good job, as you can see right here, of marking the key levels so that you don't even have to do so yourself. And as you can see, we are breaking, forming right there and testing now the 220, which it is calling a strong support zone. We put on our after hours data. You can see it definitely was a strong support because we bounced pretty much right off of that during this earnings call. So honestly, guys, it doesn't look that bad. Of course, it is coming down in earnings, but at the same time, you're still up from the close. You're still up from the close. And I believe you're still above pre-market. No, pre-market, you got rejected right there. That was that 240, that major support breakdown. So it's not a great look that it didn't go ahead and hold that. Again, though, it is after hours movement. There's the earnings call right now. There's going to be a lot of emotion-driven trading right now. So, if you're long in MU, I wouldn't worry about it too much right now. They did report great earnings. If you're an investor in the company, you absolutely shouldn't be worried. It looks incredible on paper. But what are you guys feeling out there? What are you guys thinking of this report right now? Again, since close, it has gone up. The market has overall reacted in a positive manner to it. Again, this 240 level is pretty crucial. I would definitely agree with there. There's several key points here, several wicks there that reacted against that level. And then this 220 to 240 till it breaks out to either one of those directions from where it is now. I think it's going to be kind of up in the air, but I'm curious to see what you guys are thinking down there in the chat for all of you guys that are playing MU. Let me see if there's any other news available as the call is still going. Micron executive says our data center NAND portfolio revenue exceeded $8 billion in fiscal Q1. $8 billion, interesting. Or $1 billion, $1 billion, is seeing strong momentum across the data center SSD portfolio. They saying they're expecting server demand strength to continue in 2026. A lot of good stuff being said here, you guys. Yeah, it is almost exactly like AVGO recently. It's like NVIDIA, great reports, everything's looking good, but stock comes down. This will drop tonight just like AVGO did. Someone said they bought the dip at 231.29. Let me go down. So that was about like right at the bottom end of this sidekick drawn horizontal level right here. And then you're saying if it drops under 230, you are out. That's not bad. Not bad. If you look at it on like the 5-minute chart, yeah, I could see why you would do that. You're pretty much in right there. Great buy. You're setting a stop right below these two wicks right here. Not a bad move. Not a bad move. What else we got out there? Yeah, of course. Earnings volatility can be very, very tough to trade. Someone said the NQ is bouncing. Let's take a look at QQQ. It's doing okay there. Let's look at NQ. Yeah, bouncing a bit. Not too bad. Not too bad. Let's take a look at like AMD. AMD is really flat in after hours, a little bit down. NVIDIA is down. Let's look at the overall semiconductor ETF. SMH is up. There's the semiconductor ETF, of course. Take a look at Intel. Intel pretty flat. Go back to MU here. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button because I am going live again tomorrow for Nike earnings, which should be very interesting as well. If you guys have any charts that you want me to go ahead and take a look at for you, let me know down in the chat below. MU is bouncing though, you guys. Look at this. Take a look at MU here. It's trying to test that 240 level. Congrats whoever bought the lower end of the range there. Great trade. How much are you up? Like 2.5% there. Not bad at all. Someone said SNDK. SNDK. This is interesting. Let's take off that data. Basing up really nicely here. It looks like it broke out of this downtrend line that was drawn on our chart. We can see volume is mostly declining here as a basis, which is generally a good sign. Probably got a pivot level somewhere around this 245 to 240 range. And it seems to be making higher lows pretty consistently, at least 3 right there. So yeah, SanDisk basing up nice. On the weekly, it's been very, very bullish. You missed a lot of these moves right here already. Maybe it'll base up and try to make another move, but Yeah, I mean, as long as you set your stops appropriately, manage your risk if in case it doesn't, should be fine there. WBD is interesting. This is the one that was in all the buyout talks. Look at it's looks like it's coming down today, down at 28.21. I'm pull up MU again though, since they obviously are in the middle of their earnings call right now. It is looking pretty good, you guys. It's back up, trying to get back up to 240. Kind of a nasty wick here after it rejected this area of resistance around the 238 level. But we'll keep this up here. Let's see if the call is saying anything here.
Fiscal Q1 DRAM revenue was a record $10.8 billion, up 69% year over year, and represented 79% of total revenue. Sequentially, DRAM revenue increased 20%. Bit shipments were up slightly, and prices increased approximately 20%, driven by tight industry DRAM supply, pricing execution, and favorable mix. Fiscal Q1 NAND revenue was a record $2.7 billion, up 22% year over year, and represented 20% of Micron's total revenue. Sequentially, NAND revenue increased 22%. NAND bit shipments increased in the mid to high single-digit percentage range, and prices increased in the mid-teens percentage range, driven by tight NAND industry supply, pricing execution, and favorable mix. The consolidated gross margin for fiscal Q1 was 56.8%, up 11 percentage points sequentially. This improvement was driven by higher pricing, with strong cost execution and favorable mix. Now turning to quarterly financial performance by business unit. Cloud memory business unit revenue was a record $5.3 billion and represented 39% of total company revenue. CMBU revenue was up 16% sequentially, driven by an increase in bit shipments and higher prices. CMBU gross margins were 66%, higher by 620 basis points sequentially, supported by cost execution and higher pricing. Core data center business unit revenue was a record $2.4 billion and represented 17% of total company revenue. CDBU revenue was up 51% sequentially, driven by robust bit shipments and higher pricing. CDBU gross margins were 51%, up 990 basis points sequentially, supported by higher pricing and cost execution. Mobile and client business unit revenue was a record $4.3 billion and represented 31% of total company revenue. MCBU revenue was up 13% sequentially, driven by higher pricing, partially offset by lower bit shipments. MCBU gross margins were 54%, up 17 percentage points sequentially, driven primarily by higher pricing. Automotive and embedded business unit revenue was a record $1.7 billion and represented 13% of total company revenue. AEBU revenue was up 20% sequentially, driven by higher bit shipments and higher pricing.
By the way, you guys, I just wanted to let you know that you can enter for a chance to win a free TrendSpider annual account using the link I'm about to drop in the chat below. Also, there is a poll I just put in the chat right now, you guys. You guys can vote on it. I'm asking if you're bullish or bearish on MU from this level. Right now, we're testing right around that 240 level as the call is going. So we'll see if we can go ahead and break that. Again, it was also this pre-market high right there. So it's a very, very important level to get above that. And I did just leave in the chat below the link to a tweet from me. And if you go ahead and just like and repost it, I'm going to pick a winner to give away a free TrendSpider annual account. That is the platform we're using today. And you can also take advantage, if you don't win, get a $19 trial of the platform on our current sale. Again, just go to TrendSpider.com to take a look at the plans, but you can try it out for just $19. And I will also leave a link down below for you guys to check out TrendSpider as well. But let's listen back into this call.
Record, exceeding our prior record in fiscal Q4 2018 by over 20%. Ending inventory for fiscal Q1 was $8.2 billion, down $150 million sequentially, with days of inventory at 126. DRAM inventory days remain tight and below 120 days. On the balance sheet, we held $12 billion of cash and investments at quarter end and maintained $15.5 billion of liquidity when including our untapped credit facility. In fiscal Q1, we repurchased $300 million of shares as permitted by the terms of the CHIPS agreement. During the quarter, we also reduced debt by $2.7 billion, paying off a $1 billion balance of term loans and redeeming $1.7 billion of senior notes. We closed the quarter with $11.8 billion of debt and a net cash balance over $250 million. Through the fiscal year, we expect to further strengthen our balance sheet as we generate additional free cash flow. Before turning to our outlook, I would like to share an update on how we are benefiting from AI use across Micron. Today, over 80% of our professional workforce actively uses Gen AI, with total usage up tenfold since last year. In manufacturing, integrating AI into yield and quality management has cut root cause identification time by half in cases. Our coding teams are realizing productivity gains of 30% or more using agentic AI. In R&D, Gen AI is accelerating development by reducing cycle times in design verification, product validation, issue triage, and root cause analysis. Across business functions, Gen AI is broadening automation opportunities, and we are deploying conversational analytics to accelerate and improve decision-making. We expect Micron's use of AI across the enterprise to further strengthen our competitiveness in the coming years. Now turning to our outlook for the fiscal second quarter. Industry demand is greater than supply for both DRAM and NAND. We expect higher price, lower cost, and favorable mix to all contribute to gross margin expansion in Q2. Operating expenses for fiscal Q2 are projected to be approximately $1.38 billion. As mentioned last quarter, Micron's fiscal Q4 2026 OpEx will also reflect the effect of an additional work week in this 53-week fiscal year. We expect a fiscal Q2 and fiscal year 2026 tax rate of around 15.5%. Micron is investing in a disciplined manner across our global manufacturing footprint to better meet demand. To address tight supply-demand conditions extending beyond 2026, we now project our capital spending in fiscal 2026 to be approximately $20 billion, weighted to the second half of the fiscal year. We expect free cash flow to strengthen in fiscal Q2, and we expect to generate significantly higher free cash flow year over year in fiscal 2026. Any impacts that may occur due to potential new tariffs are not included in our guidance. With all these factors in mind, our non-GAAP guidance for fiscal Q2 is as follows. We expect revenue to be a record $18.7 billion, plus or minus $400 million. Gross margin to be in the range of 68% ± 100 basis points. And operating expenses to be approximately $1.38 billion ± $20 million. Based on a share count of approximately 1.15 billion shares, we expect EPS to be a record $8.42 per share ± 20 cents. I'll now turn it over to Sanjay to close.
Thank you, Mark. AI-driven demand is here and it is accelerating. And Micron is capturing these opportunities with the best competitive position in its history. This success is built on the strength of our global team, and I want to thank our team members worldwide for their hard work and dedication. We are in the most exciting time in Micron's history, and the best is yet to come. We will now open for questions.
Right. Well, here comes the Q&A. Let's see if they ask any interesting questions. Yeah, I don't know. What do we have to do to make the market happy? Let's see. You guys vote on that.
Operator, can you queue up the questions?
83% are bullish from MU at this level. Is there no one asking questions in this call?
Yes, sir. And I show our first question
Here we go.
comes from the line of Timothy Arcuri from UBS. Timothy Arcuri from UBS, your line is open.
Thanks a lot. Sanjay, I wanted to ask you about customer LTAs. I know we're hearing about D5 that's being bundled with HBM and in some cases even NAND. So can you just talk about these LTAs? I know it sounds like these are stretching out through 26 and in some cases even into 27. I've even heard of some stuff into 28. So can you talk about the nature of these LTAs? And then I had a follow-up as well. Thanks.
These are multi-year contracts that we are in discussions with several of our key customers. And these contracts, of course, involve DRAM as well as NAND. And, with respect to terms, of course, these contracts that we are under discussions for are very different from prior LTAs. They have specific commitments in them and much stronger contract structure. And beyond that, I can't be giving you specifics at this point. Of course, in the future, if and when appropriate, we'll be sharing further details.
Thanks. And then, Mark, I wanted to ask you about CapEx. So you took it up to $20 billion net, but it still seems, you're not guiding all fiscal 26 revenue, so we don't really know what the capital intensity number is, but it seems like it's like 25 to 30%, which is a little below your 35%, metric that you usually think of. So is that because you're constrained because of fab space? And can you just talk about, does that sort of like roll into fiscal 27 where we would see, CapEx up more near that 35% range? Thanks.
Yes, Sanjay is the CEO. King Julian. Oh, that is hilarious.
Thank you. Thank you. And I show our next question in the queue comes from the line of CJ Muse from Cantor Fitzgerald. Please go ahead.
Back to you.
CJ Muse, your line is open.
Yeah. They didn't answer the prior question.
Bro does not want to answer
Operator?
the question. He's like, you did
Yes, sir.
not answer the question.
Can you turn it back to
going on
management
here?
so they can answer the prior question?
Sure. Management's line is open. Please proceed.
Better move it. I fucking love that. Sith Master, you are hilarious.
I believe the speaker's lines are muted at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, please continue to stand by. Your call will resume momentarily.
See, it's not just me who's having internet problems today, all right?
Operator, can you hear us?
Even the
Yes, we
Micron
can now.
CEO.
You're unmuted, sir. Please proceed.
Okay. I'm not sure what happened there. We were on mute here. So I just want to make sure that you heard Sanjay's response, correct?
We did not.
And you did not hear Sanjay's response. Okay, thanks, Tim. So Sanjay,
We heard, no, I heard Sanjay's response to the first question, but I didn't hear your response, Mark, to my question on CapEx and on capital intensity.
Okay, Tim. Okay, Tim. Thank you. So you're right, Tim. We're not providing we're not providing a full year revenue guide. We did indicate that our CapEx was going up in calendar or in fiscal 26, and and a substantial part of that CapEx is support DRAM and specifically HBM and the 1 gamma ramp. I would say that from 25 to 26, the plan is roughly to double the brick and mortar construction CapEx. And at this time, we would expect 27 CapEx to be up. And, but I want to emphasize that Micron's going to remain disciplined on CapEx growth to support, bit demand and or bit supply, and that supply will be in line with demand. As your question of capital intensity, our capital intensity of course is dropping as the market conditions remain very constructive, and of course we are working to be very efficient with our capital spend.
Okay, Mark, thank you.
Thank you.
And
I show our next question comes from the line of CJ Muse from Cantor Fitzgerald. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for taking the question. I guess, Mark, to follow up on the prior question around CapEx, and the relative growth seems very conservative in the backdrop that we're in, and it feels like that you're just sitting here without clean room space, and it also doesn't sound like you're meaningfully pulling in clean room. So can you talk about the philosophy there? And I guess what I'm taking away from your commentary is that you're being very conservative and judicious with adding capacity here.
Whoa.
Well, I would say that we've been indicating issues with supply for several quarters, that we were working inventories down, that node transitions were going to be the principal source of supply growth in fiscal 26, and that's exactly what's happening. And we know that clean room space takes time, and the HBM growth, which has only picked up with AI-driven demand, has further pressured supply. So there's no, near-term solution. As we said in the prepared remarks, the entire industry we expect to be short to demand, and we're no different in that case. But we are, we are moving quickly to do our best to provide customer supply, and we have pulled in tools. We have accelerated construction in Idaho. We are doing everything we can within our existing footprint and near-term capacity expansions to deliver supply. And so we provided a bit growth number for 26, and that is supply constrained.
And I'll just add that, of course, we are continuing to make the investments in technology transitions in our existing footprint. And as we highlighted, that 1 gamma node will be, majority driver of our supply growth in 26. And of course, you have seen us make investments not only in technology transitions, but also in greenfield capacity, but also enabling greater technology production capability in our existing clean rooms in Japan. And we are making the necessary investments there as well. So, of course, we remain disciplined, but we are very much focused and trying to work hard toward increasing our supply there. and pleased with our plans for Idaho 1, Idaho 2, and of course, New York as well. And of course, in the short term, very much focused on maximizing production efficiencies, maximizing our production output from the existing footprint as well. But yes, I mean, demand fundamentals are pretty strong, driven by AI from data center to edge with the build out of our customers, and supply is significantly short. And, I would say that, in the medium term, we are only able to meet about 50% to two-thirds of our demand from several key customers. So we remain extremely focused on trying to increase the supply here and making the necessary investments.
Very helpful. And then I guess as a follow-up for gross margins, obviously the guide is quite stellar, but curious as you go through calendar 26, how should we think about cost down across both DRAM and NAND? And as you transition from 3E to 4, is there anything that we should keep in mind or we should think about and contemplate in our models where there might be higher costs temporarily giving yields or whatnot? Thanks so much.
Yeah, so our CJ, our cost execution has been very good across both DRAM and NAND. Of course, we're getting some volume leverage, but spend control has been very good. Yields have been good. We do have some startup costs coming in for the new fabs, new construction across the network that starts to come in second half of 26 and into 27. But at these size of the business at these levels, it's a relatively small impact on margin. We're not going to provide cost guidance for the rest of the year as it depends on many factors, including mix. But to our earlier question, I can say that we've talked about ramping 1 gamma DRAM and G9 NAND at length for supply in 26. And those ramps are proceeding well and will be a tailwind to our cost as these nodes ramp.
And regarding your question on HBM3E and HBM4, as we have said, we'll be beginning to ramp production of HBM4 in CQ2 timeframe in line with our customer demands. And of course, our HBM4 is progressing extremely well, very pleased with our product, industry-leading product with the highest performance of over 11 gigabits per second. And so, I mean, that's the highest performance, and we're very pleased with its overall yield ramp, and we expect our HBM4 to be having a faster yield ramp than our HBM3E. And of course, our mix of HBM3E and HBM4 during 26 will be very much based on our overall customer demands, and we will have both of these products with strong profile in our 26 revenue.
Thank you.
And I share our next question in the queue comes from the line of Harlan Sur.
It's looking pretty good right now, you guys. We're testing 240.
Good afternoon and great job on the quarterly execution. Just over the past 3 to 4 months, as we track the different ASIC AI XPU programs, there's been a significant upward revision on ASIC XPU volume shipments next year. You have Google TPU, AWS Trainium, and so on, right? And all of these XPUs are still going to be using HBM3E. Has the team seen this near-term positive dynamic in your order book for 3E? And given that you're fully contracted for calendar 26, what appears to be growing upside to next year's view, how is the Micron team going to try and manage this upside dynamic in 3E alongside a strong HBM4 demand profile?
So as I mentioned, Harlan, earlier, that of course 2026 will have a mix of HBM3E and HBM4. And we have shared with you in the past that we are engaged with multiple customers, with the entire ecosystem here of HBM customers, and very much engaged with them. And they will all contribute to our strong year-over-year growth in revenue in 26. And of course, that will be made up of both HBM3E and HBM4. So as I said, I mean, we will continue to manage the mix of the two based on, customer requirements. I can tell you that, in 2026, the supply on HBM
241.
will be tight. Non-HBM DRAM will be tight as well. So we are continuing to see, as we have highlighted in our prepared remarks, tightening supply environment. And of course, we see strong year-over-year growth in 26 for our HBM. We today upped our revenue forecast for HBM. We highlighted that by 2028, we expect it to be $100 billion TAM, and that's 2 years ahead of our prior outlook. So of course, HBM is on a good trajectory. And what I can also tell you is that customers, as their architectures are evolving, as their platforms are evolving, and these are customers across the ecosystem, of course, they are requiring more and more HBM. I mean, the value of memory in terms of ability to deliver the AI capabilities and the functionality and the performance, memory is critical and more HBM is required, and that's across the various AI platforms in the industry.
I appreciate that, Sanjay. And then after 2 to 3 quarters of enterprise SSD sort of muted trends, I believe the team saw a strong reacceleration in the business, right? According to some of the third-party research estimates, I think your enterprise SSD business grew like 25% sequentially in the most recent quarter, right? So you're the number 3 market share leader amongst 8 or 9 competitors, right? Very strong share position. Given, I would assume, increasing demand trends here, expanding lead times, is the Micron team also entering into long-term supply agreements with your eSSD customers? And then secondarily, I mean, SSD demand, is it more tied to expansion in inferencing workloads as customers aggressively move to monetization? In other words, is storage intensity higher on inferencing versus training workloads?
So with respect to enterprise SSDs, really very proud of our engineering and business teams, and of course, our sales teams in terms of our customer engagement and the strong momentum and the share gains that we have with our enterprise SSD. Of course, our enterprise SSDs are a big part, an important part, let me say, of our data center strengthening mix. Of course, DRAM is continuing to increase in mix toward data center, but data center SSDs are an important part of our overall revenue mix. And, we expect to continue to focus on share gains with our strong SSD roadmap, customer engagements, and great quality that we provide to the customers. And as I mentioned, that our multi-year contracts that we are in discussions with our several key customers, our SSDs, our data center SSDs are also part of that. And let me tell you that these multi-year contracts are not just about data center customers. They also are about multiple customers across our market segments here. And in terms of your questions on, is the SSD requirement growing with inferencing versus training? What I can tell you is that in the data center AI applications, I mean, as the generative AI moves to more and more video, of course, that drives greater demand for more SSDs as well. So, the rapid evolution of AI from training to inferencing and the rapid evolution of AI models and applications, they're all driving greater growth of enterprise SSDs, yes, fueled by Gen AI.
Thanks, Sanjay.
And I share our next question comes from the line of Tom O'Malley from Barclays. Please go ahead.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my question. Sanjay, you've been helpful in the past about kind of talking about Micron's ramp in HBM and then also the ramp of the total market. You gave some new color on HBM with the $35 billion moving at a 40% CAGR. But Micron specifically, I was curious if you could give us any color on percentage of the DRAM business today that's HBM from a dollars perspective, and then on share as you move into next year. Obviously, there's a large competitor that is looking to become more competitive at 3E. We haven't heard anything on 4 yet. How do you feel about your competitive positioning into next year? And do you think that you're going to make any strategic decisions differently based on the public, certification of their memory in the next couple of months? Thank you very much.
We feel very good about our competitive position. We feel very, very good about our product and our HBM4 product that we have highlighted as industry-leading performance over 11 gigabit per second, the best specifications in the industry with our performance. And of course, we feel very good about the power consumption in our products as well. In the past, we have shared with you that how our HBM3E is 30% lower power than any of the competitors in the industry, and we are maintaining that momentum of low power, which is in data center applications is very important. So we are maintaining our performance and power, and of course, our strong capacity position with HBM4 roadmap as well. So we feel very good about our competitive position, about our roadmap, and our roadmap going beyond HBM4 for the future years, beyond 26 as well. And we are very proud of our team's ability to execute successfully over the course of last several quarters in terms of ramping up production capabilities of HBM3E. And we shared with you that in CQ3, we reached our share of HBM3E to be in line with our HBM share to be in line with our DRAM share. And we have always highlighted that as we have reached that share, we will, particularly in this tight supply environment, we'll be managing the mix of our HBM as well as our non-HBM. All of it is in high demand, and HBM as well as non-HBM has strong profitability. So looking at our strategic customer relationships as well as our overall profitability goals and growth objectives, we'll continue to manage that mix between HBM and non-HBM. But of course, HBM is growing, and we have highlighted that how we expect the TAM to be $100 billion by 2028, a couple of years ahead of our prior projection. And of course, we will grow our HBM as well. 2026 will see a strong year-over-year growth in our HBM. And in this very tight supply environment, as I mentioned, the gap between the demand and supply for all of DRAM, including HBM, is really highest that we have ever seen, and I quantified it earlier as well. So in this environment, of course, working closely with our customers, we are continuing to manage our mix of the product here.
Thank you, Sanjay. And just
as we focus on also continuing to increase supply to better address our customers' demand requirements.
Perfect. And then just as a follow-up, you've said historically kind of the $8 billion run rate. If you look at November and February, you're taking up the total TAM, but any color specifically on HBM contribution in the November quarter and what you're expecting in the guide?
We are not really providing those specifics here in terms of the breakout. We highlighted that in FQ1, our HBM revenue was a record. We did highlight that. And beyond that, we are really not going to be providing the specifics in terms of revenue. And just would tell you again that year over year in 26, we'll be seeing strong growth in our HBM revenue.
Thank you, sir.
And again, our product is very well positioned. So, that's a very good place to be in terms of managing overall mix of the business.
Thank you. And I show our next question comes from the line of Krish Sankar from TD Cowen. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my question, and congrats on the phenomenal results and guidance. My first question is for Mark. I know you spoke about the sustainability for next year. I'm kind of curious, how to think about growth margins beyond the February quarter, like into May Is it going to improve or sustain at these levels? How to think about the gross margins? And a follow-up for Sanjay.
Thanks, Krish. We're not guiding margins beyond Q2. We did guide a record Q2, as you know, 68%, 11 points sequential improvement, 7 points better than the previous record. We did indicate that our business would strengthen through the year. So we do believe margins can be up. We do believe that they will be up for DRAM and NAND. Now, keep in mind that at these high gross margin levels, mathematically, we get less in gross margin % for the same increase in price. So, we would expect gross margins to expand beyond fiscal Q2, but we would expect that growth to be more gradual than what we've seen in the last couple of quarters, or the first quarter and the second quarter guide.
Got it. Thanks a lot, Mark. That's super helpful.
And
then
Krish, just one last thing. We have indicated that strengthen through the year because we believe this constructive market environment will remain so through the year, these favorable market conditions. But we also, we're executing very well on cost. And as Sanjay mentioned earlier, we're deploying the bits to the valuable part of the market and where we can serve our customers best.
Got it. Super helpful, Mark. Thanks for that. And Sanjay, just as a follow-up to the earlier question, I understand you don't want to put some boundary conditions, but a year ago, you totally nailed it when you said you're going to get HBM market share close to your DRAM market share, DDR market share. So when you talk about 2028 CAGR of 40%, $100 billion TAM, how to think about Micron's HBM market share in that realm? Should we assume it's going to be in the low 20%? So that spectrum, or it's going to be lower? Thank you.
So Krish, again, we are not really going to be specifying, the share. As we have said, we will be managing the mix of the business between HBM as well as our non-HBM. It's like any other product in our portfolio that, when you have a strong product roadmap across the portfolio, then of course, we manage the mix across our portfolio with all the strategic reasons and customer relationships in mind. So Krish, we are not really going to break that down. And, all I would say is that, in this current industry environment, which we see as durable industry fundamentals, in the foreseeable future, we are in a very good position with all the tailwinds of our product portfolio and, of course, the increasing value of memory across the board, of course, HBM, but also non-HBM in data center and other markets. We will just remain very focused on managing the mix of our business and, of course, managing for the best in the midterm as well as keeping in mind the longer term.
Thanks a lot, Sanjay. Appreciate it.
Thank you. One moment for our next question. And our next question comes from the line of Chris Danely from Citi. Please go ahead.
Hey, thanks, guys. So I just wanted to dig in on these long-term customer contracts you guys are negotiating. Can you give us any more sense of when you think you'll be able to sign these, and then maybe just talk about what the holdup is? Is it just the unprecedented length or size? And given that the AI companies are asking for so much of your capacity, are you able to get them to, more or less contribute to the building of a new fab? Thanks.
So we will not really get into the specifics around our contract discussions with our customers. But again, I will highlight a couple of important factors that, customers are concerned about long-term access to adequate memory in the environment that we are heading into. And, that's leading to constructive dialogues with several key customers and across our multiple markets. In terms of their supply as well as other important specific commitments related to these longer term agreements. So not getting into the specifics, but as I highlighted, our contract structures that we are discussing are not like anything before. They are far stronger contract structures with specific commitments. And of course, different from prior contracts is that those used to be like 1-year contracts, and these are multi-year in nature as well. And as we look at addressing the customer discussions, of course, we have to look at our overall supply. And I have mentioned to you that in the midterm, medium term, we are only able to meet, half to 2/3 of the demand from our several key customers. So all of that, as we are managing our customer relationships and, keeping, our strategic objectives in mind, all of that has to be taken into account as we manage our contract discussions, but really not getting into the specifics here.
That's still very helpful, Sanjay. Thanks. And for my follow-up, just a question on HBM and the pricing there. So given that the demand is so strong, I think you said you're sold out for 26. Are you guys locked into a set price, or can you let that price more or less float a little bit, given how strong demand is, like DDR5 does, for example?
We are really pleased with our product position and our ability to work with our customers, as we highlighted in our prepared remarks, that our HBM for 2026 is sold out in terms of volume, and our negotiations with customers have been completed for calendar year 2026 for volume as well as pricing. And as we have always highlighted that our HBM has strong profitability, and of course, very much focused on ROI, and our non-HBM business also clearly has healthy profitability as reflected in the results that we produce, as well as in the guidance that we have provided here.
Great. Thanks, Sanjay, and congrats again on the results.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our next question comes from the line of Vivek Arya from Bank of America Securities. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my questions. Sanjay, I'm curious, at what point does increasing memory price impact
between here and there? What
demand for electronics? If you set aside the data center and the AI market, do you see some elasticity? Do you see any impact on demand as you look into 2026 for more consumer and kind of traditional enterprise products? How does that shape where memory pricing can go next year?
We have highlighted in our prepared remarks that, in some of the consumer markets, some of the unit demand may get impacted, given, semiconductor prices here, given memory prices here. And of course, some of the customers may have, for example, in smartphone and PCs, they may have some mixed adjustments in their portfolio as well to address available supply to them. But, these are accounted for in our forecast that we have. And so, some of the possible impact on unit demand and some of the customer mix changes have been accounted for in our forecast. And we, of course, even then, we see a very, very tight supply environment here in the large gap between the demand and supply. However, I will highlight to you that AI experience across from data center to edge, including in these edge devices like smartphones and PCs and other devices, AI experience really more memory is essential. So without sufficient memory, that AI experience, the functionality, the capability does get impacted in these edge devices as well. So, the punchline here is that AI across the board from data center to edge is driving increase in content and increasing requirement for memory as the customers look ahead at their roadmaps. And that's why customers are, of course, working with us with respect
Yeah,
to
that makes sense.
access to supply for their long-term multi-year plans here as well.
Thank you. This concludes our Q&A session and today's conference call. At this time, I'd like to end today's conference call. Thank you all for participating. You may now.
All right, well, that call's over. What are you guys looking at now? Someone out there is looking through their earnings reports over on Edgar. Curious what you're seeing there. Says it looks like their intern submitted this, which is funny. But let's take a look at the price action. That's what really matters here. As you can see, we are above that 240 resistance level that was being tested in the pre-market session. You can see right here made a high around that 240. So yeah, you guys, it's looking pretty good going into tomorrow. If you guys are still around, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe, because we're going to be going live again tomorrow for Nike earnings. And it looks like most of you guys are bullish on, wow, 133 votes. Thank you for voting. 82% of you guys are bullish on Micron from here. And, after an earnings report like that, it's hard not to be. It really is hard not to be. But I have the daily chart open right here. They're sitting at 243.50. If I turn off after hours data, you can see they closed at 225. Again, they're at 243, give or take. It's about a 7.786% move. Let me remove these real quick. The weekly chart, is absolutely just flown since the weekly broke out of this pivot level right here at 130. And yeah, honestly, pretty much put in a lower high right here, or higher low. Broke below it a little bit right there intraday. That's not even post market, but as you can see, it bounced off of it very nicely. Lots of volume, great earnings report. Basically going to have a power earnings gap up tomorrow if we stay and open at about 243. Again, the stock is right around here. So this will be today's candle. Tomorrow, the candle will open probably somewhere around like 243, like right there. Which again will create a gap from there to there. So we're going to have a gap right here. I think their last earnings did not have, their last earnings not really. So they haven't had a power earnings gap in quite a while. So I don't know. Could be a nice move. But we'll have to see how it opens. We'll have to see how it opens tomorrow morning. But honestly, double beat, guidance raised. It seemed pretty nice. Someone said Micron was $88 on June 30th, 2000. Yeah, I mean, why not? We can zoom out. Look at that monthly chart. It's absolutely beautiful. 2000, look at that. Yep, you're right. It looks like it peaked around almost 100. June 30th, yeah, somewhere. Yeah, you're definitely right. But as you can see, this pump did not last very long. Obviously, that's the .com bubble burst. And you really didn't break even from that until 2021. So if you bought Micron back in 2000 during the bubble, you didn't even break even until like 2021, which is honestly brutal. I don't think they have a dividend either way. That is not fun. Will that happen again here? Who knows? Who knows? What do you guys think? You guys think we're in a bubble right now, an AI bubble? So we just had Tushar Shande on not that long ago. We're discussing the difference, or not the difference, but comparing NVIDIA now to Cisco way back in the day, again, during the .com bubble burst. Cisco is one of the, the hardest hit stocks, basically, during the bubble burst. this is the dot-com bubble that you can see from 2000. And what we were doing is we're using Shonday's indicators, mostly like the pair band was a good one, to help you guys determine when to sell. As you can see, Cisco is trending beautifully on the weekly chart all the way. I mean, you got long down here, maybe got stopped out there, but you could have gone back in here. Rode the trend all the way up. I mean, how much gain was this? It was about almost 1,000% move to the upside, guys, in about 2 years, from 97 to all the way up in 2000. And the time to sell is when it goes ahead and breaks your trailing stop loss, which you can see actually happened right here. So you could have gotten out in like May of 2000 and locked in a solid amount of gains. And then, or you could have got out right here in like September. Either way, you would have avoided all of the drawdown, or you would have gone out maybe down there. But either way, the lesson remains simple, is that probably, unless you're like looking super, super long term, but I think most people in here are probably at least somewhat active traders, is you're not going to want to buy and hold. You're going to stop out when the trend fails. And if you look at, Cisco's still looking actually great today. It's still up in buy range. But if you pull up MU, wow, it's actually very, very crazily extended here on the weekly. You got the stop loss way down there at 158. Depending on where you set it on the indicator, you can actually lower the speeds and whatnot. Let's take a look at the daily. The daily is actually pretty much testing the stop loss. Where's the stop? No, stop loss is down at like 200, but it is breaking below this entry line right here, which got you in long right around 126. So, it's been sketchy. I got out around this area, probably like right there on that stop loss. Haven't gone back in since. Could have gone back in there if I wanted, but, I'm just not playing it anymore. What are you guys thinking on MU? Curious to see what you guys are looking at. And if you guys are still sticking around, let me know if you guys have any questions down below. We've been live for about like 2 hours now, so we'll probably cut it sooner than later. But make sure to subscribe, because I'm going to be going live again tomorrow. And also make sure to use the link I'm going to drop in the chat down below to, trial TrendSpider for just $19. You can use the link down below in the chat to get a trial of the platform for just as low as 19 bucks. If you guys want to take a look at it, get it for 2 weeks for 19 bucks. You can hop on the stream tomorrow, play around with it tonight, and then ask some questions tomorrow if you want. You can always ask questions to our support team using the contact us button at the bottom right of the platform. But if anyone out there has questions, I am here now to answer them for you. Put on this after hours data. So look at this. It's back. It's probably, on the daily, it's still pretty much a long, according to the pair band indicator. Check out Lulu. Lulu, interesting. Remove this. Let's remove this. Look at Lulu actually triggered a buy signal on the pair band Shonday indicator. If you guys want to take a look at all of Shonday's indicators, I'll drop a link down below in the chat as well. There are a bunch of trend following indicators, as you can see on my chart. There's the link down below in the description. But yeah, if you're playing based on the pair band indicator, you would have probably gotten in either, the 12th or the 15th, whatever, around like basically 202. And then it looks like the stop loss is about 15% lower right now. And it's going to trail upward as the stock continues to go ahead and move up. But Lulu looking pretty good. If I pull up the Tushar Shonday blast indicator, we'll take a look at what this one is telling us. Love these Shonday indicators, by the way. Yeah, the blast indicator would have got you in close to the bottom around November 24th, because this is buy lows and sell at tops. So it's looking to get you in kind of like a counter trend instead of following the trend. So it's going to get you in earlier, which it did pretty much on November 24th or the 25th. And your stop is still sitting down there at like 180 on Lulu. But we'll probably go ahead and cut the stream here, you guys. Again, it was a great report for Micron. Had a double beat. Everything looked good. And if you look at the chart, of course, it is up like just about probably 8%. I have an 8% gap tomorrow, you guys. We'll see how it does in pre-market. But other than that, thank you guys so much for joining. If you are still there, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tune in again tomorrow for Nike earnings. So I will see you guys then. And you guys have a good rest of your night.